September 10th, 2025, approximately around 3:15, a shooting took place. The death of Charlie Kirk. Now, as you may know, I might not be the biggest fan of Charlie Kirk and have displayed him on the likes of The Easy Show quite frequently. I might even use vulgar language when talking in terms of Charlie Kirk. But specifically today is not one of those videos. Today I'm going to be going in to the murder of Charlie Kirk.
We have some breaking news in the US now, where shots have been fired at a political event held by a key Make America Great Again campaigner. Now, video from the scene in Utah Valley, this is at the university, shows crowds running from the scene of the shooting. The event was being held by Charlie Kirk, a key mega influencer and campaigner. NBC News are reporting that he has been hit in this attack with blood seen on his neck.
Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk was shot at a university event, which is something that he would do quite frequently, which actually helped him gain popularity. At the time that this report and video is showing, it wasn't quite clear whether or not Charlie Kirk was actually alive. In fact, when recording the video that I actually released yesterday, I was actually covering a Charlie Kirk video, responding to a CNN analyst, talking in terms of how the George Floyd case was not a sense of racism, but solely a drug addict. And how this situation with this young lady in North Carolina getting stabbed to death on a train station, subway, whatever you like to call it, how that is actually racism versus which I blatantly disagreed with it, but unfortunately didn't give my level of vulgarness that I usually do in my videos, especially in terms of comments of that nature. Once I took a pause and recorded, which you guys wouldn't have known on your end, I seen a notification on my phone expressing the same exact notion that this video had just expressed, that Charlie Kirk had been shot at a university event. Here's more information about Charlie Kirk getting shot at that said event.
Because ABC News has now confirmed that conservative activist and podcaster Charlie Kirk has been shot during an event at Utah Valley University. President Trump is now weighing in. Let's take it straight to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, that's been following this since the news broke. Aaron, what is the president saying?
The president is calling Charlie Kirk a great guy and saying everyone must pray for him after a shot rang out as he was speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. His presence on that campus had divided it, but he was speaking at an event at an outdoor courtyard when the university says a shot rang out and the entire place emptied out. People went running. Charlie Kirk's condition is not immediately clear. We are still waiting for confirmation on his condition. Utah Valley University said a suspect is in custody. We know nothing about that suspect or whether it's the actual shooter. A number of federal officials are now racing to the scene. Orem, Utah has a very small police department, Kira. It shares it with two other nearby communities, so the feds are going to be deeply involved and on their way now as everyone from the president on down in the administration asks the nation to pray for Charlie Kirk, who commonly goes out to college campuses to drum up support for President Trump's agenda and was deeply involved in helping to get the president elected. And now the president is asking the nation for its prayers for Charlie Kirk, who was shot on the campus of Utah Valley University. Kira?
Today marks a terrible day in American history. Though somebody who I didn't agree with politically found itself getting assassinated when trying to bridge the gap, simply create conversation. Even though his viewpoints were not aligned with those that may be deemed as reasonable or liberal, leftist. But regardless of the case, no human being deserves that. And if you've seen the video, it's quite graphic. How ironic is that when Charlie Kirk had got shot, he was talking about gun violence and asking whether or not transgender shootings is either asking a clarifying question on whether or not transgender violence is a result of either gang-related violence. And when he asked that question, he got shot in the neck, and blood immediately protruded from his neck, causing him to fall to the ground and seem lifeless. Any normal human being would feel something from that, understanding that no human being was meant to see that. Nobody was meant to see that. And yet we saw it. In today's age, you had to go to Livewire and all these other places, the dark web, to get content of that nature, not easily accessible on the internet. Today, blatantly showed on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, and the likes of everything else. It's traumatic for us that watches it at home, behind our phones, tablets, and computers. But those who were actual witnesses have to sit back, not only recall this information and speak to news outlets, but live with this for the rest of their lives.
And then as the guy said shooting or shooters or something like that, you just hear the gunshot and you just see his neck just like open up, and there's just like so much blood that just came out.
As soon as the gun went off, we both hit the floor, started praying, everyone was screaming, and everybody started like running in like a mob through the doors, and like it was scary.
In my head, I was thinking, we gotta get out of here. So I started yelling, we gotta go, we gotta go.
It's traumatizing. It's traumatizing for the students. When I saw students running off from the campus over the bridge there, a lot of them were crying. It was traumatizing for everyone.
Take your time, okay.
All I hear is screaming, and I see people running, and I'm like, it's not safe to run, it's not safe to get up, it's not. And all I'm saying is, please God, please God, please God, because I don't want to die, I don't want anybody else to die, and I think I just saw a guy die, you know?
And then, yeah, we got up and we just started running, and we made it out.
I don't think this violence is justifiable, regardless of who's speaking, controversial or not.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation.
Absolutely.
I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. This indeed is a tragic day for our nation, and indeed a tragic day for the state and the world. Mind you, we have people on the internet who didn't witness this behind their phones and finding themselves celebrating the death of this gentleman. Rather than sitting there and debating with him, which is the right thing to do, we chose to celebrate his death. It reminds me of Kevin Samuels and his death, and all the bitter women coming out and expressing their dissatisfaction for that of Kevin Samuels. Ladies and gentlemen, the death of anybody is not a laughing matter. It's nothing to be celebrated. Hell, I didn't celebrate the death of Osama bin Laden because it is a human being dying. Regardless of my enemy, I wouldn't wish death upon nobody. And we speak about the death penalty, especially in terms of DeCarlos Brown, who murdered the Ukrainian refugee. I vehemently disagree with his potential death sentence. If you've seen it, the graphicness in nature, and you have a heart, it will change you. I don't recommend you go searching for it. But just see, when someone wants to have a level of conversation, create a platform where you can have that conversation. Go down to colleges to speak to people, our futures. our response is to kill him. And if we're not responsible for killing him, we're online making jokes and fun, forgetting the very point that there was witnesses to this tragic event.
All of a sudden, I heard just one pop. Saw Charlie all of a sudden, like, go fall. His head kind of fell back, and blood was just gushing out of his neck. And then at that point, I kind of turned my head to look uphill because it felt like it came from up behind me. And then I saw everybody dropping, so I dropped down. And then the next thing you know, they said, run. So we all took off running.
We heard two pops, and we ran. And a lot of people ran with us. When I was standing by the door, kind of overseeing what was happening, some people were standing there still taking videos. So I went back out to look over the railing to see, like, maybe someone just did some firecrackers, something like that. But more and more people were screaming, crying, dispersing super quickly from the scene. More and more people were headed Charlie's way. And yeah, just pure craziness. And then after getting back into the building, just tons of people flooding to go outside, get away from the scene.
Charlie hit the ground. We saw him fall, but it looks like the shot came and it hit, he was facing us, and it looks like it hit the left side of his neck. To be perfectly blunt, it felt like so much blood came out of his neck immediately, and then we all took to the ground. I can't tell you almost what happened immediately after.
There was a handicapped person there that wanted a hat, and so I was like trying to get Charlie's attention, and he saw me and he came right over and handed this guy a hat, and it was really it's very kind. I'm just sitting there watching. I think, wow, he's taller than I thought he was, and he's so energetic, and he's so happy, and he's throwing these hats out, and the crowd is just going nuts, and it was a huge college crowd.
It's tragic. There's some people right now who don't know who Charlie Kirk is. Might have came across his video searching on Instagram and Facebook randomly. This is who Charlie Kirk is. Who is Charlie Kirk? An activist shot and killed. Kirk was born October 14, 1993 in the Chicago suburbs. He engaged in politics in high school. He was a conservative media personality and founded the Turning Point USA, a nonprofit aimed to restore American justice. In October 2020, Kirk began hosting 3-hour daily talk shows and college meetings. He was a strong supporter of Donald Trump and glued close to the MAGA movement. Kirk was widely regarded as one of the most influential young conservative voices in the United States. And just like that, he was murdered. Charlie Kirk was an activist and an influential Trump ally. He died after being shot at a campus event in Utah. In a video, Trump says he is filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination, calling it a dark moment for American history. 2 people had been arrested but later released. They had no current ties to the shooting, the official says. And the manhunt is still ongoing, but authorities don't seem to think that he's actively on campus. Officials believe the shot actually came from the roof. Kirk, close to the president and his family. The fatal shooting lays bare Americans' bloody and broken politics. The conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, was 31 when he was shot and killed at this event, hosted at the Utah Valley University. The shooter remains large Wednesday night, going into Thursday. President Trump initially confirmed Kirk's death on a post on Truth Social. Videos actively circulating online shows Kirk, a co-founder of Turning Point USA, recoiling after being shot and blood pouring from his neck. Utah Governor Spencer Cox described Kirk's killing as a political assassination and remarks during a news conference. Once again, 2 people were taken into custody early in the day and were found to have no ties. The FBI and the Utah Public Department said in a joint statement, which called the shooter a targeted attack. Well, I'm going to tell you guys a few things. One, that was a professional that shot Charlie Kirk. Reports haven't came out, but I'm telling you based off of what I've seen. If you are actively aiming at a person like Charlie Kirk at that specific time, who's actively moving back and forth, picking up the mic, picking it up, one wrong calculation, one wrong shot could have missed. But that shooter stayed calm, poised, and fired. Ironically, at the right moment when Charlie Kirk was talking about gun violence, in which he had openly expressed that it is worth the few lives that are lost due to gun violence as long as we keep our Second Amendment rights. It costs, and it is worth that cost, just to be gunned down by the very thing that he fought for us to have, in terms of the okayness with us having guns on the streets, simply due to allowing us to have our Fourth Amendment rights. Regardless of the controversial comments that Charlie Kirk has found himself making, it shouldn't result in comments on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm seeing it all day long. It should never result in comments of this nature.
There are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people.
Charlie Kirk just got shot. Oh, well, breaking fucking news, folks. Seems somebody just took a shot at one of the Fanta-Fastest favorite 5-mile-wide mouthpieces, Charles Chucklefuck Kirk.
I'm not saying she deserved it, but I'm saying God's timing is always right. And goodness knows the wicked's lives are lonely.
It's sickening that politics is so divisive today that we celebrate when a simple American gets shot by practicing their amended rights, freedom of speech. Here's Mr. Kirk expressing the power of civil conversation.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults. The left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you not feel that people have lost their humanity? And the senseless murder of this nature, and the senseless comments that's made in fun and in light of this gentleman's death. His objective was not to have the violence, but I vehemently disagree, given that some of the comments that he's made in the past. Once again, I am clear on the record that I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I did not like some of the rhetoric that he spewed, especially in my last video in which he was a prime candidate and somebody I disagreed with. This video also showed me that we, and some of us as white Americans, find ourselves, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about you, okay? Find yourselves in this state of delusion as if racism doesn't actually matter, or the things that are actually racist aren't racist, and things that actually aren't racist are racist as well. Or even the idea that having these conversations will simply stop violence, when the violence is a result of the system. Now, I made it very clear. The system, systemically, racial, or not, is a systemic problem. And the actual root of the issue is mental health. Now, I can go down this rabbit hole as to why it's okay for black people to have mental health, as long as we have enough room in jails, which they don't. But mental health isn't just a black thing. It's a human being thing. And it's much more rampant than ever before. There's a 90% chance that the shooter of Mr. Charlie was white. If you look at the shot, it was a precise shot in the left side of his esophagus, spilling blood immediately, deeming him lifeless almost immediately. For me as a black male who strongly disagreed with Kirk, I found myself distraught. And I'm certain I'm not the only one.
I'm heartbroken and devastated at the death of Charlie Kirk for a couple reasons. Number one, I mourn for his wife. I mourn for his children. I mourn for his loved ones. I mourn for all of those that loved him. And as a human who has empathy, regardless of your political views or where you stand on the aisle, right now it's time to mourn with those that are mourning and weep with those that are weeping. And so that is what I'm literally and figuratively doing. When I look into so much of what people love and loved Charlie Kirk for, I'm like, okay, Emmanuel, your empathy is birthed from a belief that no person should die before their time, and absolutely no person should die as a result of gun violence, especially outside of war. But Charlie Kirk, he proudly stated that death by guns is a price we have to pay for our Second Amendment right. I've just been in turmoil all day and my heart is hurt. It's been heavy. It's been weeping for his family. It's been weeping for his loved ones. And I don't really know the words to share, because the moment I want to share like another senseless death because of a gun and because of gun violence, I'm reminded that some people believe, hey, it's worth it. And Charlie Kirk said, hey, it's worth it. People will die by guns to protect our Second Amendment right.
Is it worth it? Republicans, now that one of your pride and joys have been as a result of it. See, we didn't decide to do this when Trump happened, and I find that this specific case is quietly aligned to the shooting of Trump, almost to the T, 200 yards away on a building. The only difference is leading for more room for conspiracy, because they haven't found the killer. They're blaming everybody else besides the actual person who did it. Newsflash, there were actually 3 cops, campus cops, versus 4,000 students. And not just students, but also other people. They didn't have the Secret Service to their disposal. They didn't have the military or actual police officers to their disposal, like the said force. They had campus cops, which means that was a prone situation to happen. He is a political figure, but not someone holding a political office. If that could easily happen to Trump, why wouldn't we think it could happen to one of you guys? This world is much more rampant and crazy. And every time these stories come across, it touches my soul. It forces me to take on that energy of trying to understand why this has happened. Because I find myself seeing innocent people find themselves in this predicament. Now, you can say that God was paying this back to them. I can honestly believe it as well. Especially how ironic it was when he found himself being killed talking about the very topic that he was talking about. It's a sad day in America. It's a sad day for his family. It's a sad day for conservatives. And I just pray this doesn't turn into something that is more hostile and more divisive than we have ever seen before. I swear I think we are at this level. But there's always something we ain't seen yet. And now at this specific moment, Democrats are getting blamed for this very thing when it should be the blame on the system that was created by all of our people and political forces that are in power. This is NBC's reaction to Charlie Kirk getting shot.
In which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, to emphasize what you just emphasized, we don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about.
Yeah, we're showing, by the way, our affiliate in Utah, and the aftermath of the shooting. You could see people running away pretty quickly, as you would imagine they would do at gunshots. The FBI director, Kash Patel, has weighed in on this. He just tweeted the following: "We're closely monitoring reports of the tragic shooting involving Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Our thoughts are with Charlie, his loved ones, and everyone affected. Agents will be on the scene quickly, and the FBI stands in full support of the ongoing response and the investigation." Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use. Why?
Well, he's one of MAGA's most prominent voices online. He hosts a near daily podcast. He opines on almost everything. He's been very closely aligned with the president since his initial run for office in 2015, 2016. And his ties to Trump really elevated his own brand. He was really quite young as an activist when the president launched his initial campaign. And he has kind of ridden along with MAGA since 2016 and built up a massive, massive brand of his own. His group has brought in tons and tons of money.
Because as we were just talking about a moment ago with Alan, after one of the Doge employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what Donald Trump used as justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. The carjacking situation, he used that. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark, but you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
More carnage is on the way. Revenge is on the way. There's been calls for a civil war for so long. That's what makes this situation so painful. This is going to turn the face of America and more countless other issues, because we will not deal with the issues that are at hand. And here is furthermore concerns about the level of conspiracy, given that they still ain't found a suspect and a manhunt is still underway.
So let's get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. I know it's very early in this investigation, Pierre, but we did hear from authorities about what was picked up on that very grainy surveillance.
That's right, David. Police did not give any specifics other than to say that there is surveillance footage of a person wearing all black that they are studying. They believe that the shot that killed Kirk was fired from a higher location than the venue where Kirk was speaking. There was some confusion earlier today because an elderly man was taken into custody in the moments after the attack. We are told it was determined that he is not the shooter and has been cleared. Authorities are canvassing for more surveillance footage, talking to witnesses about what they saw, asking for any video they may have recorded, and they're also looking for a single shell casing that could be tied to the shooting or anything else the shooter may have left behind. This is very much an active and ongoing investigation, David.
And one more question before I let you go, Pierre, because we saw the images of the crowd racing from the scene with panic in their faces, and that is completely understandable given what they witnessed just a few feet from where they were. We heard from authorities there who confirmed that this shot was actually taken, and we've certainly seen this before. It's believed, at least at this point, from another structure right there on campus not far away.
David, we often see in these situations where the shot is fired from a higher perched location. This is exactly the scenario we saw in the attempted assassination against President Trump when he was running for office last year. This is an ongoing situation, and I spoke to an official today who said, look, open venues outside, they're going to have to reassess how these things are secure.
They're going to have to stop that. Open venues must stop because clearly the world is at a place that cannot allow for public figures to be obtained by the people that supports them. Cannot be touched. Tupac said it best. I'm going to be killed by anybody or nobody. Just as easily as I can be touched, I can easily be killed. And if that hasn't been proven, especially in terms of politics, the differences is Charlie Kirk's shooter was an actual shooter versus President Trump's shooter who was merely a kid who didn't have a shot. There's a difference between the two. It's not just one person that's feeling this, it's multiple. Multiple people are feeling emboldened enough to take the lives of people instead of doing the right thing. Letting their voices be heard and having other people agree on the same things. All it takes is us to vote. All it takes is for us to have the right leader to address our specific issues and attack them. But here's the problem. A lot of our issues that we obtain differ vastly for those that surround us in the same country. Whites and blacks, Hispanics and Asians, Indians, Filipinos. We all differ. And we gain power and set those powers up to our differences. Our opportunities, our misfortunes, our mishaps, things that we might not find liking to. We structure our structured system around it to where it's easier for us to coexist and maintain, to live comfortably. And 9 times out of 10, it affects the other half. At the end of the day, mental health is an issue. Gun violence is an issue. And with the combination of both poor mental health and poor regulated gun laws or evaluations for carrying those guns, results in both people on both parts of the aisle, regardless of what party you are, human beings getting killed. From black people in black churches by a white male, to people at a concert getting shot up, to people at a gay bar, to people and kids at school. The list goes on, and I must ask, when is enough going to be enough? When are we going to not find ourselves getting divided in this political divisiveness? Not understanding that these politics that fight on camera are drinking and toasting cards and all types of ignorant stuff behind closed doors, making deals, enriching their pockets, giving each other insights in terms of how to deal and do on the stock market. Politics, regardless of what they say outside, don't have our best interests. As long as they do just the bare minimum to keep us voting for them, or as long as they harp on those things that we feel like we need from them, some of our needs, then we're satisfied. Even though we find them getting into office and not really doing what is right. Here's the final moments of Charlie Kirk before the deadly shooting at the Utah event.
I do want to share with our viewers here some video and some sound of now the late Charlie Kirk speaking to this crowd of students in Orem, Utah. And it wasn't just students, I should add. This event was open to anyone that wanted to come. And here's what he was saying just moments before that deadly shot rang out.
Transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Immediately after saying that, Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, blood protruding from his neck, and proceeded to fall on the ground lifeless. This is indeed an ugly mark on American history. Trump also agrees, expressing that this is a dark moment for America.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country.
What it sounds like is Trump signaling that there's war amongst the American people. And if I hear that statement from the president, and I was a supporter of the president, I would feel the same way. And this is what fears me when it comes down to our future as America, because the more divisive we become, the more dangerous it becomes. Even if you, as an individual, do not find yourself on either side of the aisle, simply just in a mere middle, not agreeing with either one, could find yourself an innocent bystander to the tragic situation that seems to be taking place. Our president signaling that we will fight anything and everything that is in our way, even if one is incorrect. You have people on both sides expressing, well, I guess it's going to be a civil war. You have people online making a mockery about someone who has died. And we forget the whole premise. Evil is active. People online celebrating the death of this gentleman who simply wanted to have conversations. Controversial. His ideas and ideologies I strongly disagree with, but never to the extent of wanting him to be killed or murdered. I pray we find our way out of this mess, out of this divisiveness. But unfortunately, I only see it one way. And if we have a civil war today, I believe it'll be way worse than ever before. The capabilities and technologies that are at our disposal is unlike ever before in history. It will fracture, which we are already fractured as a nation, more than ever before, all the way down to the roots and foundation that this country was built off of. The search for suspects continue following the death and the shooting of the political activist Charlie Kirk.
The manhunt continues and a shared anxiety is settling into place tonight after the apparent assassination of a young political voice in America.
Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk died from a single gunshot this afternoon as he headlined a college campus event in Utah. And at this hour, authorities do not know who did it. Two persons of interest were taken into custody and questioned by investigators but were later released. Authorities said tonight they are still working to piece together details surrounding the shooting, vowing to bring those responsible for the shooting to justice.
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof.
To whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law.
Back in Washington, a moment of silence on the floor of the House of Representatives today. Kirk was 31. He leaves behind a wife and 2 young children.
I'll be turning 30 years old this year. Understanding this gentleman is 31. Who knew he was within my age range? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dark moment in history. Not only do we have people that are out there, instead of talking, instead of going to the polls, they choose to take guns and shoot people, innocent people. And if you're not actively shooting people, you're online spreading hate, which is evil. See, God doesn't speak aloud and openly as he did during the Moses time. He speaks to us as vessels through somebody. See, God, instead of sending prophets, prophesies prophecies through people, because we're all vessels, easily influenced by God's glory and will. It could be as simple as your next door neighbor giving you information God wanted you to know, needed you to know. And just as easy as it is for God to use us as vessels, the devil has that same ability to use us as vessels by spewing hate, by harming people, by doing unthinkable things. Some of us scoff and comment at how terrible situations like this are, but in a few years find ourselves in the same situation by one bad mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, evil isn't your friend. It isn't here to be on your side. And we're all prone to it. I implore all of you to get close to your Bible. And this isn't me trying to be religious, but I implore all of you to read whatever holy scriptures it is that you have and get close to it. Have any of you guys read the book of Revelations? Because to me, it kind of seems like that's playing out in real time. And it seems like the only way to stop it is to tear all this shit down, all the way down to its roots, to the pure, bare bone foundation. And I'm not talking in terms of tearing down our government. I'm talking in terms of going down to the basics. Getting the essence, just minus the sectioning off of slaves and using them for labor. Evil is prevalent. Evil is amongst all of us. And I implore for all of us, instead of pointing the finger, to look in the mirror. Notice, take note of the evil that radiates off of each and every last one of us, and strive to be good. Because little that you know, the little energy that you put out there could be quite influential and inspire the next mass shooter to do whatever it is he feels is necessary for that split moment. And remember, guys, we have our moment of judgment. Today, Charlie Kirk had to sit on his knees before the Almighty God and answers to some of the deeds that he had took place and did while living on this earth. Be aware, guys. Some of us might believe we're operating, doing the right things, But are you doing it according to what your scripture says? Literally, we ain't got the answers. You don't have the answers, Sway. We weren't made. We didn't make ourselves. It started somewhere more divine. And what I'm seeing is pure evil taking full charge. I seen a video today of a young lady and a depiction of a young lady facing God and being faced with judgment. You had an angel that was speaking very highly of her, and you had an angel that was speaking very bad of her. And yet God had that final judgment. Remember, folks, what you do will be seen, notated, and have to be answered for. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. Same thing with me. Same thing with Donald Trump. And every other person that has lived or taken breath. What will God talk to you about that dash in between? Because that's essentially the only thing that matters between life and death, is what you did in that dash. I pray for the strength of America. I pray more than anything in this very hour for the family of Charlie Kirk and those that mourn him. And I pray America finds its way to getting back to what we know to be. Because right now, if a catastrophic catastrophe were to take place, just like 9/11, how would we be able to band together when we're obviously on the brink of a civil war? Let's work on not being evil and focusing on how to be better people. If you can't beat them, don't join them. Keep fighting. And that doesn't mean violently, but within the structure. And if the structure is broken, which I agree it is, then we must fight to change it. Or put people in power that doesn't. No more gun violence. No more fighting. Let's do what we need to do at the polls. And focus on mental health. Because at the end of the day, if we didn't struggle with mental health as much as we do, all of the mass and tragedies that have taken place wouldn't take place. I love everybody. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please hit the like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And I'll be back for another video like this. Those of you that mourn, keep fighting. And whatever you believe in, don't do it by eliminating your opponent. Beat them the right way. And that does not mean by killing.